Hello and welcome to another SkaredCast tactical video. Today, video 22 of the series, we're looking at the role and use of the infamous Ravager within the Dark Eldar army. Let's get started. Hello and welcome to another tactical video. Today we're looking at the role and use of the Dark Eldar Ravager, one of the heavy support choices in the new Dark Eldar codex. Of course, this is one of a series of tactical videos that I have recorded for the new book, and it's divided into two sections. The first will touch on what a Ravager is for the newer Archons, and the second will touch on the tactical nuances and roles within the real space raids. So let's jump right in, as this is one of the last videos of the tactical series, and the Ravager itself is one of my favourite units and has been since I started playing the Dark Eldar. Though it fulfills a similar role to the battle tanks of other races, the Ravager carries little armour. Instead, Ravagers are so nimble that they can ambush an enemy tank and destroy it in a single devastating pass, disappearing again before the foe knows what hit them. Shadows streak suddenly overhead, tanks exploding in gouts of flame as lances of dark energy tear through their hulls. Defenders scramble to respond, gunfire spitting in all directions. Panic and confusion spread like a plague, while the Ravagers slip away, ready to attack again elsewhere. In this way, enemy strong points or tank columns can be reduced to smouldering wreckage without the cost of a single Dark Eldar life. The dazed survivors left defenseless as the rest of the raiding party descends. So the Ravager is a gunboat. It is quite literally a raider with guns on it. More guns than what a raider normally has. So excuse it, gives up the ability to carry passengers for the ability to carry more guns. But what is it that makes the Ravager fantastic? So let's check this out. The Ravager is a 110 point tank. It is ballistic skill 4, like most Dark Eldar things are. Armour is quite light. Front and side armour 11, rear armour 10, and it has 3 hull points. So, more armoured than a Raider or Venom, and the same amount of hull points, but not as armoured as, say, a Dreadnought. So it's very, very light. It is a vehicle, it is a skimmer that is fast, that is open-topped, and the unit composition is 1 models. So from this, from points-wise, it's twice the cost of, say, a Space Marine land speeder, and it has 1 more point of armour, and it has 1 more hull point. But what makes it tick? Well, to start with, it has 3 heavy weapons. It starts with 3 disintegrator cannons. Now these are like a souped-up heavy bolter. They are strength 5, AP 2, 36-inch range, which means that, and the AP 2. So at its basic cost, it is a 9-shot Terminator killing machine, which can be good, especially if you're looking for, if you play a lot of people that play with 2+ armor saves. Now, something the Dark Eldar do not lack is the ability to take guns that will deal with infantry. Now, the Disintegrator is a gun that takes on heavy infantry, but not only is the AP2 good, lots of poison shots from Venoms can be just as effective. So, Ravagers are mostly seen in an anti-tank capability, by swapping out their disintegrator cannons for Dark Lances. This is where the special rules and the options come into play. So, there's two special rules for the Ravager. It has Deep Strike and it has Night Vision, like most Dark Eldar units. So, the Ravager can be used as a deep striking strike force to deep strike and hit the exposed side armor or rear armor shots from the enemy, or it can be used to come in later in the game to cause some havoc with some disintegrators or whatnot, once you've busted some tanks, cracked them open, per se. Night Vision allows enemy units not to take advantage of the self granted by Night Vision, or the night fighting on the first turn or subsequent turns, which means that, you know, only specific pieces of war gear, like holofields from the Eldar or disruption pods from the Tau, those things help enemy tanks stay alive. So, what are the options? As much as the Ravager is iconic in the Dark Eldar army, its options are rather limited. It can replace any disintegrator cannon for a Dark Lance at 5 points per disintegrator cannon, so it's 15 points to replace all of them, and it can take items from the Dark Eldar vehicle equipment list. Personally, I own 3 Ravagers, and I have always equipped them with Dark Lances. So, it is a gunboat. It is a fast vehicle gunboat with 3 guns. So you can move 12 and shoot with 2 guns and 1 snap shooting, or you can move 6 and fire with all its weapons. That is where the Ravager comes into play. It is a tank-busting light tank. So keep them alive. Be smart with them. That is what it is. As an anti-Dark Eldar player, you know to target the Ravagers as well. So let's look at the Ravager from a tactical perspective, taking into account vehicle upgrades and its role within your army list as an Archon. So first and foremost, I highly recommend you switching out the disintegrator cannons for Lancers. Now, we can go on and on about the mathematics and statistics of the Lancers versus the Haywire Blaster, for example, and we know the Haywire Blaster is more efficient at putting hull points on enemy tanks. But what the Ravager can do that the Haywire Blaster cannot do is destroy a tank with a single lucky shot with its AP2 Lancers. And this is an enormous boon when you have a tank that is at full health, like a Land Raider, or a Flyer that you get that one lucky shot on, which I have done multiple times to say Helldrakes, or you have, you know, a full Chimera with full hull points. That one lucky shot rolling that 6 on the armor penetration roll, and it explodes and detonates, which means you don't have to do all 3 hull points in order to kill it. You can just bank on that one penetrating hit. And because of that, I think the Ravager still has a use and role within the Dark Eldar real space raid, using Ravagers to target key tanks at the start of the game to try and knock out key targets. Now, this doesn't mean that I will spread my fire around. If you have 3 Ravagers, you want to focus your fire all into the main target until it is eliminated, especially one that you have that needs to be dealt with. But I would use them first to target these strong units to hope for a lucky shot, to hope to take out tanks in that one hit, using the Haywire Blasters later in the game or later in the turn to get a reliable hull point kill on the tanks if need be. So let's look at some of the upgrades, because with the Lancers it comes to 125 points, and this is a good value for the Ravager. Previously in the old books, the Ravager was always known to be undercosted for what it gave you, and became a de facto automatic choice for many a Dark Eldar player. So now you actually have to think a bit more about how to use the Ravager in your list, as you happen to be investing a few more additional points to get the same thing. 20 points to be exact. So, what kind of equipment can a Ravager have? It can take any of the upgrades, unlike a Venom that is restricted to only one upgrade, 2 upgrades. It can have chain snares, which allows it to tank shot. It can have enhanced sails, which allows it to turbo boost faster. It can have grizzly trophies, which gives it a bubble around which Dark Eldar units can re-roll leadership tests. A shock prow, which allows it to ram and tank shock, and when it rams it counts as armor 14. It can take night shields, giving it stealth. Torment grenade launchers, which is an additional shooting weapon, or splinter axe, which make no sense whatsoever. Even though it can take splinter axe, you can't put anything in the Ravager. So although you can buy it splinter axe, I would highly not recommend splinter axe at all if you're paying attention. So, out of all these upgrades, I recommend the night shields. Stealth on a Ravager is fantastic. The enemy army will be focusing on your Ravagers because they know they have a reputation to blow stuff up. And being able to jink with your Ravager to keep it alive for that extra bit has been highly useful for me personally when running 1 or 2 Ravagers exclusively. Now, lately I've been running 3 Ravagers in a very aggressive style Venom list. And I've noticed that I don't require the night shields on the Ravagers as much because of the saturation of targets. So the night shield is a great upgrade if you have 1 or 2 Ravagers, but once you have 3 and then multiple other units that cause distractions, it's not really needed to keep cost down in the army list as a whole. As for the shock prow, the chain snares, the enhanced sails and the grizzly trophies, I would not take any of them. Sometimes I would, consider the grizzly trophies, but that would only be in very specific army lists where I would have a large core of Dark Eldar foot troops hanging around my backfield Ravagers and moving up with them, and as long as they're not fearless, you could use that to re-roll leadership tests and whatnot. So, that is the main focus on the Ravager. So, a couple of key things to talk on. With a Ravager, deployment is key. Lances and disintegrator cannons have a 36-inch range, so make sure you take that into account. They are not a 48-inch range las cannon. So, deployment is key. If you're going second, do not deploy your Ravager out in the open. It is okay to deploy the Ravager outside of line of sight and behind your forces, because you don't want to lose your Ravagers right off the get-go. You want your Ravagers to get the alpha strike on the enemy armor. So you want to deploy them back, move out, and then use them to shoot, and then get shot at and used and jink in order to avoid damage. Deep striking. Personally, I've only ever deep struck my Ravagers a few times, and I would only do it in select missions against select opponents depending on what I'm playing. If I have 1 Ravager, yes, I would consider deep striking it. If I'm running 3 Ravagers, I wouldn't, because you need to have the numbers on the table to put pressure on your opponent throughout the game. So, let me know what you think. I'm sure, as an Archon, you have used Ravagers before, so let me know what it is that attracts you to the Ravager and how it is you have used the Ravager to the best of your extent. Back in 4th and 5th edition, I used to run 3 Ravagers, 1 with triple disintegrators and 2 with lances. With the addition of the Venom, the disintegrator Ravager has now morphed into 3 Lance Ravagers, and that is why I've used 3 Lance Ravagers. Now, I am tempted to start using a Void Raven Bomber, and I love the Talos units as well. So, there's a lot of competition for the heavy support slot. Of course, using things like the Coven supplement and multiple detachments and formations in your lists really takes the pressure off the combined arms detachment or the real Space Raiders detachment. So leave a comment down below, share the tactical video, let's get this discussion going. Thanks a lot for commenting and sharing with the community to make this thread what it is. Check out the other tactical videos, like, subscribe and share this channel. We appreciate it a lot. This is Skari, your grateful host. I hope you found this video informative, and last but not least, this is Skari, out.